Hey guys, I'm Steph with Hair and Makeup by Steph, and I'm here in LA shooting with TRUMATCH hair extensions. So I do a lot of bridal work, a lot of upstyling, and I use a ton of extensions. So what's great about TRUMATCH is that not only do they match the texture and the color of the hair, but they also match the density of the hair. So it makes the transition very seamless. So as you can see with our model Kenzie, most of her extensions have already been applied, and it's very difficult to tell where her real hair ends and where the TRUMATCH extensions begin. So it's very seamless. So we're gonna go ahead and bring out Mary Kate. She is the East Coast educator for TRUMATCH, and she's gonna show you guys the application for the last couple extensions on Kenzie. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm almost finished Kenzie's extensions. I'm gonna add one more row. I'm just gonna section her out. From her ear forward, I'm gonna get that hair out of my way. Same thing on the other side. And then I'm just gonna go around her head. Take a clean line and section that out of my way. Then I'm gonna go ahead and start applying. So I'm gonna take a section. It's see-through, but it's a strong section. I'm gonna flip that up. And then I'm gonna take one of my pieces with the tape facing up. I'm gonna place that in and roll my hand down, right on top. Then I'm gonna take my top piece, tape facing down, and I am going to stick it right on top. I like to give it a little extra push at the end, and then that one's done, so we're gonna move on to the next one. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch in between. Flip it up, take my tape facing up, place it down, roll my hand down, take my top piece, tape facing down, and place that right on top, and a little extra push. And then we'll have one more for this row. Again, I'm keeping about 1/8 to 1/4 inch in between. Very clean sections. Tape facing up, place that down, roll my hand down. And top piece on. So here is the final row. I'm gonna drop this hair. So as you can see, it's totally seamless from roots to ends. So now Kenzie has a totally new head of hair thanks to TRUMATCH extensions.
Okay, so now we have all of her extensions in, and you can see how thick and voluminous and natural that looks. So right here, we have her real length, and then these are all of the TRUMATCH extensions. And it blends seamlessly, you can't even tell. So I've loosely curled all of her hair, and what I'm gonna do now is just add a little bit more texture and a little bit more curl around her face. We're gonna be doing like a chunky crown braid on her, so I definitely wanna make sure that the front pieces are really detailed because they're gonna play a big part in this. So what I'm gonna do is just back comb a little bit more around her face and curl these a little bit tighter. And I'm gonna be curling every which way because I don't want this to look too uniform. I wanna keep it very youthful. So some are gonna go back, some are gonna go forward, and that's gonna keep it very messy looking. Okay, I'm gonna spray a little bit of texture spray in there as well, just to give this even more volume. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the sectioning for my crown braid. All right, so the sectioning that you're gonna do for this is pretty simple. You're gonna section out a circle all around the hairline that's about 2 to 3 inches away from the hairline. So essentially, you're just sectioning out the crown in a circle section and clipping that aside for later. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't wanna see these part lines, so I'm just loosely parting it with my fingers. Now you wanna make sure when you're doing this that you leave enough hair up here around the face to create a nice chunky braid. So I'm gonna go ahead and section that off. Okay, and now I'm ready to start my first braid. So since I have the extensions in here, I have a ton of hair for bulk, which is super nice because I'm gonna be able to get a really thick braid. So I'm gonna spray a little texture spray in there. I've already gone through and back combed most of this for a little bit more volume. What I'm gonna do is start behind the left ear, and I'm gonna do a Dutch braid that goes across the back of the head. So I'm gonna start pretty tight And then once I'm finished braiding, I'm gonna go back through and detail it and loosen it. So it's a 3-strand braid. The outside pieces go underneath the inside piece. And as I'm braiding, I'm gonna add all of this hair to the bottom section. So I'm picking up a section, adding it to that bottom piece, and then crossing that under. So pick up a row of hair, add it to the bottom, and cross that under. So the top piece, I'm not adding any new hair to, just cross that under. And then my bottom piece, I've added new hair to, cross that under. And you wanna make sure this isn't sitting right against the hairline. You wanna raise it up a bit to keep a little bit of volume in there. Okay, so now we are getting close to her ear over here. So what we're gonna wanna do is make sure we add the majority of her hair right when we get to the ear. What we don't want to happen is for this hair right here to get pulled like this. We want it to be very natural, pulled more back like this. So I've sectioned out her mohawk section for later, and I'm gonna take all of this hair right here and add it to the braid right when I get to her ear. So now that I've added all of that hair, there's gonna be a couple rotations where I'm not adding any hair at all. So I'm just doing a normal 3-strand braid going up the side. And then once I'm finished with this, I can go back through and pull these out and detail them and make them really messy and pretty. But it's gonna be very easy to work with because they're not getting pulled in weird directions. So now that I've reached the top, I can go ahead and add in the mohawk section. And I'm gonna wanna keep this fairly close to her hairline. So I'm gonna pull this forward. And I'm still only adding hair to this outside section. So I'm gonna pick up a row, add it to that outside section, and then cross that underneath. Okay, so now braiding down this other side is obviously more simple. You can just do a normal Dutch French braid. So you can see, here's her natural length. If this was all the hair that I was working with, it'd be really difficult to complete this look. So the extensions make it possible. I really don't know that I could do this style on her hair without the extensions in there. Okay, so I've added all of her hair in there. I'm just gonna finish out the braid. Okay, so what I'm gonna do before I get any of this pinned is I'm gonna go through and detail the braid and make it really pretty and wispy and sort of ethereal. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of texture spray. This is just gonna help the braid stay in place and hold its shape as I start to pull on it. So I'm spraying that all throughout the braid. So I have enough product in her hair now that I don't even necessarily have to hold the end. So a lot of times I'll just let go of the end and start pulling on it. Sometimes if their hair is really silky, you have to keep a hand down here, but that's not the case with her hair. So I'm just gonna work my way up, pulling on this and detailing it and making it a lot bulkier. And as you're doing this, you wanna be sure to not only bulk and detail the braid, but to also work with these sections through here and with these sections through the back. So the outside of the braid is just as important as the braid itself. So I'm gonna pull a lot of these out, make it softer. Okay, and then once I have that looking how I want it to, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the end around and bobby pin that in place. All right, so our first braid is complete. Now I'm gonna let down the middle section and I'm gonna use this to create a normal French braid. So I'm gonna start pretty high in the crown, 3 sections. This time the outside pieces go over the inside piece. Okay, before I get this pinned, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna bulk it up, spray some texture spray in there, and pull on these sections to make this nice and chunky. All right, once my braid is as big as I want it to be, all I'm gonna do is flip this over, wrap it around, double check everything, and then bobby pin these ends underneath on the opposite side. Okay, so we have our first braid completed. Now I'm gonna let down this middle section and use it to create just a normal 3-strand braid. And I'm gonna wanna over direct the hair so that the braid is sitting right in the middle of this crown section. So 3 strands, and I'm gonna wanna make this nice and tight to begin with. Okay, before I move on, I'm gonna spray a little bit more texture spray in here and make this a little bit bulkier. If it's easier for you, you can also loosely put an elastic in the end. And I want this to be pretty messy, so I don't have to pull the sections evenly. I don't have to make it too uniform. All right, once that's looking how I want it to, all I'm gonna do is wrap this around and bobby pin the ends underneath on the opposite side. Now I'm gonna go back through and pull on this a little bit more, make it a little bit more visible. All right, so now all I have to do is go through with my curling iron and touch up a couple of these pieces. Okay, so there you have it, a thick crown braid using the TRUMATCH hair extensions.